No, she needs to be provided for. Oh, okay. So there's no such thing as equality in your little hypocrite minds. She can't take care of a man. She can't provide for a man. A man has to provide for her. You see the hypocrisy? But I say it's even deeper than that. I say that it's biology. So we want to say that, like, oh yeah, women are the fairest sex, women are the ones who keep men down. I think the opposite is true. I think men go out and they become bad boys and they do all the quote-unquote toxic masculinity stuff that feminists claim men are so known for. I think they do that stuff. Go out and run companies and become rich and have nice, cool cars. I think they do that so they can get laid, so they can attract women. The question is not their motive, because they're just doing what works. Why get mad at somebody who's just doing something that works for them? Why not get mad at the causation? Why does that work? Why are women attracted to those things as opposed to genuine character, as opposed to genuine wholesome aspects such as genuine love, genuine shared experiences? I think that is manufactured. The truth of female biology is they're really attracted to being taken care of. They're attracted to men with providership roles. And a lot of people say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, that's not love, because those things are transient. Those things are materialistic in nature. Love is intrinsic. Love is essential. It's part of the human spirit. It's part of the human soul. It's part of the human heart. It's part of the inner experience of things that you can't quantify in materialistic means, in materialistic standards. Oh, this guy's got a Ford Mustang from 1967. He gets all the tang. He gets all the pussy. Oh, look at my buddy. He's just like Joe Rogan. He's got all these cool cars and he goes out and hunts and all this cool stuff that attracts women, man. Well, that's just what women like on a biological level. Okay, but call it what it is. It's shallow. It's transient. It's materialistic. I'm not saying that it's not cool to have a cool car. It's not cool to go out and hunt deer, but don't say that that's love, that that's what all women want. It's biological in nature. Tell the truth. Don't say women are the fairest sex and then they go chase a bad boy. Women are the fairest sex and then they put a price tag on love. Women are the fairest sex and they chase men for the wrong reasons, and they go through men and discard them and use them and sleep with them, etc., etc. And we don't talk about that at all. If you talk about that, then you're a misogynist, and why can't you let women be free, and woo woo woo. Well, call it what it is. Call it what it is, man. Hey, if you want to go be a slut, go be a slut, but don't say that that's... Don't not talk about it and ignore it and then still say the women are the fairest sex when they're out doing a lot worse shit than a lot of men, because men don't have access to the same thing women have access to. When a man uses a woman, he's called a gigolo and he's hated by feminists and people look down on him. When a woman uses a man, then it's get yours, girl, go girl. Oh yeah, girl power. You see the disparity there? You see the discrepancy? You see the difference? It's hypocrisy. Bottom line, hypocrisy. But see, here's the thing. I think that when females do this, this is their biology. You say, oh, I want love. I think men are the ones who actually want love. I think men are the ones who are actually idealistic. I think men are the ones who actualize ideals. Men are the ones who actualize it. And a lot of times what I see when I look around, I see men who are settling. I see men who are fulfilling roles of masculinity, of perceived, prescribed masculine narratives to get women because they love women that much. And to me, that is being cucked in your soul. And I get it, man, because I know what it's like to be lonely. I get it, man, because I know what it's like not to have a woman in your bed, and it sucks because it's nice to cuddle with somebody. It's nice to hold somebody who loves you. right? But what happens oftentimes when we do this? Then all of a sudden we're weak and we're oh, he's too clingy and he pays me too much attention. So who is it that's really toxic? Is it men, really? Or is it the women? And Voltaire said, be careful, or not be careful, he said, pay careful attention to who you are not allowed to criticize in society. Those are the people who really rule over you, whom you cannot criticize. Because if you do criticize them, you're attacked. You're considered a misogynist. You're considered a woman hater. You're called an incel. You're ridiculed. You're called names by women and men alike. What is that? That's a uniform cult. That's an inclusive social inner society cult. Oh, if you talk back, imagine if Republicans said, hey, if you say anything bad about Republicans, all of a sudden you are this term, we call you a name, and then and it's like, how stupid would Republicans look? You'd be like, I mean, people would just be like, yeah, well, you know, what are you above reproach, Republicans? The irony is liberals actually do that, although albeit subtly, because they understand to some degree that by being too obviously inclusive, and exclusive to anyone who's not a liberal, actually doesn't, you know, really benefit their party. And there's actually some genuinely intelligent liberals out there who actually are open-minded and actually are not such inclusive cultist-like people. But when it comes to women and females and feminism, that is actually the case. To criticize Republicans is your right with freedom of speech, and people do it often. To criticize liberals is your freedom of speech, and people do it often. Doesn't mean they're right, but they're allowed to do it, and at worst, people from the other party will give them a hard time and argue with them, at worst. But you just try to criticize a woman and see how you're demonized. See how white knights and other women come out of the woodwork to attack you. Call you incels, call you losers, call you, oh, you MGTOW losers, you can't get laid, you MGTOW virgins, and woo woo woo, right? Why is that? Because you're not allowed to criticize women. Because, oh, they're victims, they're suffrages and blah, blah, blah. Well, if they're victims and they're suffrages, then how can they be equal? Pick what you want. Are you a victim? Are you a sufferer? Or are you equal? If you are equal, then you should be transparent to criticism. You should be transparent, and you should live by your accountability, as men have to live by our accountability. They call us deadbeat dads. Hell, they even put us in jail if we don't pay our child support. That's how by the balls women in society have men. We are so disenfranchised as far as a respectable group goes, and we're so toolized, and we're so utilitized, it's not even a word, but we've become utilities to the extent that they will put us in jail if we do not, quote unquote, fulfill our end of the bargain, which is financial. But a woman has no obligation to love a man. That's her freedom. If she wants to go out and sleep with 9 different men and have 9 different babies, that's her freedom to do. And in fact, she can give up the child. And in fact, she doesn't necessarily have to be a good mother. There's nothing forcing her to be a good mother. As far as I know, they do not put women in jail for not taking care of their children. As far as I know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are some rules against that. I don't know. It's just assumed that a woman is just this naturally wonderful mother just because she's a woman. That's assumed. But it's not at all the case. I've met tons of bad mothers, bad examples, bad role models of women who have children. And just because they pop out a kid, which is not hard to do, lay on your back, a guy shoots his cum in you, you get pregnant, and you have a kid. Is that very difficult to do? No. Is that a 9-to-5 obligation with the fear of being fired and the fear of losing your housing and the fear of being homeless? Is that what that is? No. In fact, it's a ticket to freedom. It's a ticket to security because they can fall back on the state. Because at any time they can just say, oh, I can't take care of my kid. And because of the kid, they get free housing. I see it all the time. Section 8, welfare, DSHS. And I'm not saying those aren't good programs, because the kids need that if the mother really doesn't have the ability to provide or to take care of the kid financially. Kids should not be homeless. However, it doesn't mean that mother is a good mother, and it doesn't mean that they're the same as men. In fact, that is a point that proves they're not the same as men. Because men generally do not fall back on DSHS and welfare. I'm not even sure if they can. I'm not even sure if it's the same thing as if a female applied. So you have the same hypocrites who are on the one hand saying women are equal to men, equality, all this crap, and you can't criticize women, and women don't have to be accountable like men do. It's the same hypocrites saying that are the same ones who are writing the legislation in favor of women, writing legislation that is fundamentally sexist, that fundamentally takes away from men and gives to women. What is that? That's hypocrisy to the core. That is absolute, blatant hypocrisy. That's that's two-facedness. That's double. You're double-faced. You're saying one thing in one circumstance, or in one context, and you're saying the opposite thing in the opposite context, as if that is supposed to make sense. It doesn't. The Bible calls that unfair balances, or you know, when you have balances that are, well, anyway, that's not a good example because I can't think of it, but when you have a balance that is not, in the Old Testament times, they used to weigh things such as goods and foods, and they used to weigh it on these balances. And based on how much it weighed, they would give it a cost, right? They would say, oh, it weighs such and such pounds, therefore it's worth such and such money. Whatever good that was that they were weighing. Well, some people were thieves or crooked, and they would make sure the balances were cheated and swayed in a different way. You get my point, right? So they would have these balances, you know, these weighing machines that they had, which were balances that were not calibrated the correct way, and so it would make the goods or whatever that they were going to buy or sell weigh more or less than they actually weighed. Okay, so that's what this is. That's what this legislation is. That's what all this hypocrisy and genuine phoniness when it comes to how men and women are treated in society and the laws behind the genders. This is sexism. The very thing they claim men are, the very thing they claim to be victims of, they are perpetuating in society. The very thing. There's the patriarchy, and guess what?